production at home. The good news is that you can do all this stuff at home. So welcome to the first of the Learn to Fly program. And it's, as Bridget in the audience, she came up, she's like this metaphor queen who wrote this amazing book. And she always comes up with a good metaphor when I'm looking for it. And this one was a Community University program. What Bridget doesn't know is that I was going through my Amazon Cloud files today to entice you later with bonuses. You know, people like bonuses, like whatever. But I got the bonus because I started listening to something that I did in 2012, where I started this school for soulpreneurs that might have been premature because I think the time is now. And I really believe that that was really great practice. And when I was listening to it, there are pearls of wisdom back there that I'm going to make available to the people who are listening to this call tonight, especially those who are live and hear it. And one of the things that was great for me to be reminded of was when I began this first class. It was called Finding Your Authentic Business Brand, which is now going into this Community University library of all the teachings that I've collected over the years, where I've tried to teach healers or community activists how to be better business people or how to grow their tribe. I think that was the thing that was missing. I was trying to teach people how to be better business people when it's really about growing a tribe, growing a community. And for some people, that's like an activism group, or for some people, that's a one-on-one healing thing. Some people want to teach, some people want to lead expeditions. But the good news for you is that, what's that? I've done it all. In fact, next week, I'm leading I created a conference in Palm Springs. It's the 4th year running for addiction professionals as part of a day job. And so I built conferences. I mean, I did the conference on, what was it called? It was some kind of building your business conference way back in 2004. So I've done all of this so that wherever you're coming from, trust me, I've been there. And I feel like now is the time for me to give back and really share to the community. And so this is what I'm offering to you from my heart. But one of the things that I remember that I got to see when I led the program before was that what makes this different is the soul that we bring to it. And in those back days, I just naturally opened up the group with calling in the directions. So I thought we'd all start by calling in the directions here tonight. And this doesn't mean you have to sign up and be a part of this, although there's going to be some free components and everything. But it's just like, let's set our intention that for the next 45 minutes, 50 minutes, or however long this takes, that we're here together for a sole purpose of taking flight. How does that sound? You with me? And so I thought I would use my rattle, because a lot of times you'll hear me with my wind whistle, but today we're going to start by rattling. And we're going to start, since we're in the winter, heading towards the east. We're going to start in the north, and we're going to work our way back around there. So if everyone feels comfortable, please close your eyes and listen to the rattle. And you can call to the directions however you call them. Boreas, the winds of the north. Smiling down at us as we are hibernating these ideas, these new ideas that we put away in the fall. Come here today and be with us. Be with us that we find the community buy-in for everybody who's on this call, everyone who's going to listen to this call later, and for this new community university, that it gets the community buy-in that it needs to take it fully around the cycle. We're going to call to Eurus in the east. We're going to call upon you to be here now and to be here later during our removing resistance exercise. Eurus, the place of the mind, the place of new beginnings, the place of memories, past, present, and future. We invite you in here so that collectively we can remember our power as we stand together to form in and build new communities. I call upon notice of the South, because as we cycle around in our seasons, we always get back to that midday sun, that midsummer sun where we have to weed our garden. We're calling you here so that we have an abundant crop that we will be weeding later on this year. And for those of you from the South and the down under, you're getting into that weeding period now. We're going to call to the west wind to be here so that we have strength. You're asking us to step into community, which means we need to take care of ourselves physically. We need to die onto those parts that no longer serve us. And we need you, Zephyrus, the west wind, to be here with us in this class, in this group, in this momentum that we're creating to build our tribes, to build our community. And of course, we call upon you, Mother Earth, to be here, to hold us, to nourish us as we do your work of planting, of weeding, of sowing, of harvesting, and of storing. Guide us. And we call upon the winds of spirit, the overriding winds, to join us here in community, in ceremony, in harmony. Aho. Wow, how could I forget that that changes everything? Whew. Welcome. Welcome, welcome. Whoops. We opened our sacred space, and right here you're seeing a picture of us at Omega this summer, and some of you people on the call were at Omega. Bridget was there, and Susan was there, and Liliana was there, and another of our friends from Down Under was there who didn't know what she was doing there, but we know she was there for a really good reason. And one of the things was she put a cellar onto her house. She couldn't understand what the symbolism of cellar was, why she needed a cellar on her structure. One of the I have many curious exercises that I use to get people to their self-mastery, because self-mastery is key to being of maximum service in the world. There's no other way to put it. I'm going to say it again. You have to master yourself and your ego in order to show up present. Now, do you have to come fully mastered to be in this program? Absolutely not. What you need to do is you have to be willing to peel away the onion layers, because what I've learned from my own work over the years is as soon as I get a new idea and I step into something new, I see where the old stuff comes up. There's always another level bubbling up. And yesterday we pre-recorded another call with the Shaman's Cave, and Sandra and I were both talking about unworthiness. And, you know, every time I step into a bigger version of myself, there's another part that comes up for me. And so wait until February 17th when you can listen to that. And one of the reasons that I'm doing this is in 2012, I started this program and it was successful, but I had to go back and write a book. And from what I was listening to today, I was listening to the archives, which are going to be made available to people in the Wind Mastery program, is that in the Wind Mastery program, there's going to be levels, by the way, and we'll talk about that later, but these programs are going to be available to you, some of them for free, and including the old Finding Your Authentic Business Brand and Building Authentic Relationships. I'm going to make those things available to you. But one of the things that I want to say about that is that back then I was talking about your business archetype, and I had no idea that I was heading down the road in the wind to really understand about the dynamic winds of creativity, which I know absolutely we're going to explore this coming year. But what I thought I would talk to you today about was why this program matters now. And the community matters now because if you notice, like just things like a airplane strike, or a government shutdown, all of a sudden it gets harder to travel. And if you live in California, you know it's hard to travel any day. Right, Jeannie? Last weekend you wanted to come out to the desert and it's back-to-back traffic. And so far we've been thinking of the internet as this way to reach a worldwide audience, and it is. However, my focus this year is how do we get back to building our neighborhood community, because I think those are really going to be important in the coming years. And I don't mean that this week, because if I started talking about this in 2012 and I'm saying it's time to get back to our neighborhoods, and I was, 7 years ahead of myself there, this gives you 7 years to get prepared. And it takes that. And that's what I really want to talk about when I talk about how I became a Hay House author. How was my step-by-step approach for success? And then I want to tell you a little bit about why masterminds in the old traditional selves never really worked too much. They worked to an extent, and am I asking you to join a mastermind? No, I'm asking you to join in a community participation that might seem a little bit mastermind-like, but I don't think that this tribe needs that type of training. But I will tell you this, you're going to benefit from all of the masterminds that I've taken over the years. And the nature of community, we're going to talk about that. And then how adding the self-mastery component create a natural paradigm shift in your life. And that's one of the things I'm going to bring on a couple of the Win Mastery students later to tell you that they didn't do anything else but invite the wins into their life, and their life changed. And so hopefully they can tell you that, like one win believer, like without doing, she showed up and did her work, but her income doubled last year. Now, I don't know what her income was. So double could have been $10 to $20. I'm not saying that, but I know that just by inviting in the wins into the life, a lot of things in my life changed, including getting a Hay House contract, which people covet. And then we are going to look at understanding blocks as your most important ally. Now, who wants to think of a block as a friend? They are your friends because they always pinpoint where the next piece of work for you to do is. And then we're going to actually cooperate with those blocks and your resistance, and we're going to do a win mastery exercise, because one of the things that we'll talk about in the why masterminds don't work is because never in any of the masterminds that I took, when people came up against themselves, did anyone say, hey, let's take you outside and clear out those chakras? No, they're like, well, keep. And so probably 85 to 90% of people who take masterminds get a little bit further, but they're not mastering themselves. And I found that even in taking masterminds, I'd find a lot of people who wanted to grow their businesses, but they didn't want to grow their soul. And that's what this is going to make this different. So I want to talk to you a little bit about my vision now that it's 7 years later, the book is written, and I'm ready to step back out and really share my authority in society. And so I want to tell you about my vision because it's how we vision. And I'm really going to encourage all of you to go back and listen to the Finding Your Authentic Business Brand, which I'll send out the link to. And that first class was eye-opening 7 years ago. And it was good for me to hear it again. So how did I become a Hay House author? Well, first of all, I wrote a book that hadn't been written or been on the planet for 10,000 years. So let's just talk about that first. So you might say, well, I don't have the next thing that hasn't been on here in 10,000 years. How do you know that? Something Sandra Ingerman said yesterday that I had the same experience, and I had never talked to her about it, and she had never talked to me about it, was Isis came to her when Sandra said, oh, I'm really afraid to write my soul retrieval book, and gave her a message. And I got the same message from the wind spirits. And the message was, well, if you don't write it, I'll get somebody else to do it. And so think about that in your own life, all the missed opportunities you've had in your life where somebody else did it. In fact, another, more famous shaman, more famous than me, well, maybe not, but he used to be. But in any case, he might be. I do amuse myself, and I'll amuse you too if you stick with me. He said to me, well, the winds came to see me one day. And so he said, did you read the chapter in my book? And when I read the chapter in his book, I thought, oh my God, you weren't listening the day the winds came to talk to you. Because if you had been, you would have been writing this book first. And that's the way it goes, because if there is an idea out on the universe, there's other people who are attaching on to it too. Did you hear that? So if you've got this brilliant idea, if you're letting your resistance, you're letting your block standing in the way from doing it, you're going to be standing there at the corner watching somebody else open up your store, opening up your healing practice, opening up, the activism on the corner. The person's going to be marching is going to be somebody else with your sign. So here's to one more reason, do your work, because life is short. Our life in this planet is short. What's 90 years when you got 4 billion years? The other thing that I did, and I never knew why, but I'm one person when Spirit said, do this, that, I don't know, I'm not that pig-headed. I just say, okay. And that included taking graphic courses at the college when I was still a food and beverage director. They gave me a lot of shit over there for going off. I said, hey, no, I'll be in at 10 because I have to go to school. And, it was towards the end of my food and beverage career, but I was taking graphic courses. I took video courses when I was in Colorado running a country club. I took a year of social media training with Mari Smith. Last year, to keep myself engaged and so I could really speak to a high sophisticated audience about the wind, I took the free Harvard X course in religion. The hardest thing I ever had to do was learn how to write. In fact, today you probably got an email from me with 3 or 4 typos in it because one of my assistants said, what did you do to that email I wrote? And I'm fast, I'm sloppy. When I used to write the first time, like I puked out this book once and I just thought everybody else should fix it. And you know what? You can do that. But let me tell you, it cost about $15,000 to have my book edited that way. And I had to work a full-time job to do it. So learning to write was key. And my friends make jokes about it. They said, wow, we couldn't believe that you learned to write. You can cook, you can paint, you can do all of these things, but we didn't think writing was on the top of your list. And I'm a much better writer today. I'm still a little sloppy and I still make typos and I still sent that out and you're still here. However, I have an assistant who I usually pay to do those things. I build websites. I don't know if you've been over to the Shaman's Cave yet. And I built that website for Sandra and I. And I didn't build my own personal website because I was launching a book and I paid somebody a lot of money to brand me and build a website. But I'm building the CommunityYOUniversity website right now because I don't know about you, but it's easy to do. And yes, I could pay somebody to do it, but I'd rather spend the $40 or $50 an hour or whatever I pay to have people do other things that I can't do. And that's one of the talks we're going to have with my virtual assistant's going to come on to tell you, what do you do and what do you pay away to do? I pay away the gardener to come and cut the bushes because that's something I don't want to do. There's other things I don't do. So one of the things we're going to look at this year is how do you budget your time? What do you pass out and what do you keep? This is a key one. Every single day, I do one thing in my life to move forward. You could raise your hands and tell me if you're with me in that, but I do one thing every day I do to move forward. And so when I was writing a book and I was frozen, I'd open up the book. I might even write just a sentence, but every single day I did one thing. Personal work. One of the things that I had asked for when I was before I was seeking the wind and I didn't know what I was seeking was one thing that I made really clear was that I asked Spirit, oh, hi Susan, Susan's with us too. I asked Spirit, I had some teachers that I wouldn't call high in the ethics scale. And I asked Spirit to make sure that I had people in my life that as I became more famous, as I became on a bigger platform, that I wouldn't fall into that trap of losing my integrity. And so I have 2 to 3 guides in my life, and these are people who will tell me when I'm full of shit, and they will really say, And I mean, I've had to really look at some really rotten things in my life about some of my character flaws. About one time I was with a group and they all sat there and told me how I wasn't very nice. And boy, that was hard to hear from your closest friends. But it was true. And I really had to work on, how I was and how I held myself in community with the people closest to me, because it's really nice. You can be nice on stage, but how do you treat those people who live in your house and that you love the most? I persevered no matter what. And what does that look like in my life? When I was 30, I spent 3 days a month in a darkened corner in a bedroom with the covers over my eyes. And trust me, it was a little difficult because I ran a restaurant at that time. I was so depressed that I couldn't find what was going to tether me to life one more day. So if you're looking for a guide who's been there, done that, and you've suffered from depression, I've been there. So when I go forward, it's because I know that I chose to be here on this planet at this time now, and Spirit's got my back. And so, sorry about that. And I answered the call of the wind, like I said earlier. One of the things that this program has, and it's a chef term, umami. And one of the things that this program is going to offer is that magic happens when we come together. So over in the Wind Mastery group, we have people that can share things, and they share really personal things. They share when they're having a great day, and they share when life really is sucky. And yesterday I thought I was sharing something over there, but it went to the Wind Clan, and it was like, I'm there like, wow, I can't believe I shared that to the Wind Clan. This would have been the Wind Mastery share where I talked about my fear around, was I good enough to do a ceremony on a call with Sandra? Now, you need a place to try those things out and practice those things. So that's a platform. Bridget, who's here, she's actually led our weekly check-ins, which we got to get back to now that the first of the year is over. But we're going to have weekly check-ins, and they're not going to all be run by me. Because one of the things as you go up the ladder in your life, like, what good is it if I'm the only one sitting in the teaching seat? Join me at the fire here. I loved this saying by Van Gogh that great things are, what's it say? I got to move this. Great things are not done by impulse, but by a series of small things brought together. And that's something that happens on our Wind Mastery wall, is that ideas feed off of each other, and people see, wow, she went out and did that. I can do that too. And so that some of us are destined for big stages, but some of us are destined to carry on a group of 8 people at a time in their community, and neither place is better. And we have to remove our judgment about that, because we want to do what we want. We want to be where we are most comfortable. Let's talk about why masterminds didn't work. I've done a lot of masterminds. Every time I wanted to level up, and so here I'm telling you, if you want to level up, stick with me for this, not a mastermind. Can't anyone laugh at me? But we have our projections. Like when I took a mastermind last year, I thought I saw somebody who was really big, really popular, and I thought, wow, I'm gonna hang on to their coattails, and they're gonna share my stuff. Well, let me tell you, most people don't share your stuff, and I tend to share my students' stuff, especially those who share my stuff. So it's more about, are we in a reciprocal relationship? Do you share my stuff? I'll share your stuff. Because I used to have this belief, and this was one of those places where I had to grow, was there's not enough Who's got that? There's not enough. So if I share my stuff, I'm not going to get the students. If I share your stuff, there's not going to be enough for me. Well, I don't believe that anymore, because now I know there's plenty for me and plenty for you too. And sometimes that overlaps and sometimes it doesn't overlap. Sometimes they're not community minded. They're more about, those promises. I'm going to teach you how to make $100,000. Well, first of all, how do you know I don't want $200,000 or, $1 million? And what about if 50,000 is plenty for me and that's all I'm looking for? Or I'm just looking to supplement my Social Security income. Does that mean that I don't deserve to be here? So this whole idea of deciding what is good for me is part of that whole place. And I don't buy that. And I also don't buy, I believe that somebody who promises you that you're going to make $100,000, the only person who's going to make $100,000 is them. So think about that. Nobody is going to do the work for you. I can lead you to the water, but you're going to have to drink it. You're going to have to call the wind cards. You're going to have to do all of those things if you want to succeed in this program. You're going to have to grow with each step. And anyone who's been in my Wind Mastery classes will tell you that I'm not the kind of teacher who's going to let you sit there and co-sign, and I'm not going to co-sign your own bullshit ever, never, ever, because that doesn't do me any good and it doesn't do you any good. Some of these people are just building their tribes, but they're not as spiritually as advanced as you. How can somebody who hasn't done their personal work meet you at your vision? They can't. It's like the thing I say about psychics. I never have a reading with a psychic who hasn't done their spiritual work, because their projection is going to lower my vibrational possibility. If I tag onto it at all, I'm going to go with their vision? No way. And a lot of masterminds aren't anchored in group support. So Community University, we're standing on a precipice now. We're at the best and worst of times. We have the internet that gives us worldwide access to everything, but do we really need all of that access? Maybe, maybe not. It was great to have all of that access when I was writing my book. However, I don't really need all of the access to know who's doing what on a constant daily basis. So my recommendation is to take some of that energy inward and put it towards your own practices. This is an interesting thing. I did a talk recently, and I'm going to be doing it again, about women, addiction and depression in women over 50. I tend to get a lot of Wind Clan members, Wind believers who are over 50 or in that range. And by 2020, this is going to be the biggest group of underemployed people. Do you hear me? Because they have empty nests, they are underemployed. They start to look around and see like, wow, I haven't made nearly as much money in my life as other people. And so there's like looking towards their retirement. And so it's a little depressing when you get there and you don't know what's driving you. If you don't get up and say, yes, every single day, I am so excited to be doing what I'm doing, then you might be doing the wrong things. I mean, there's not a day that I don't get up where I'm in love with my life. And, I have my bad moments, however, but for the most part, I get up every day and move my life forward by one step because I'm doing what I love to do. And so this is going to be a two-part course where we're going to master the self while we build community. So what is community? I love this rubber band thing. Inside of a baseball that got that rubber band. Community is a collection of people or animals who interact together in the same environment. So that could be Facebook, that could be at your church group, that could be in your neighborhood, that could be my little cul-de-sac. And community exists everywhere in nature. A vast majority of organisms exhibit some form of collective grouping. Interaction, get this, interaction between members is what creates the community. So you could be standing around, but if you don't have interaction, like say that we have in the Win Clan group or the Win Mastery group, you have a Facebook group that is not a community. The goal in my tribe building is to build a community where people feel safe to share. And I don't know what it is for you, but that is for me, because I want people to have that sense of feeling like they belong to something. And community is our social economy. Isn't that interesting? I found that today in the Art of Community. And so the Win Clan community is more of an open clan. The Win Mastery group is a group of committed people who are committed to doing their own self-mastery work and building community, and whatever that looks like for them. And so you might say, well, I'm not a community leader. Well, I'm going to ask you, I'm going to challenge you. Do you volunteer? Do you desire to build a strong and vibrant community for your volunteer project or paid pursuit? Are you have a commercial organization? Are you a healer, a teacher, a yoga instructor? Do you work with, interact, or build a community around a product or service? Like, my wind whistle. We got wind whistlers. If you want to build a successful project, manage contributors, or build buzz, and are you, interested in learning how to market your projects out virally and to build a following around what you do? Are you an activist? Are you wanting to get people excited around your cause? If so, if you answer yes, or if any of these speak to you, then there's something here for you. Stick with me for the rest of the meditation. So here's where we get to our meditation part. Did you all raise your hand? I'm assuming you all raised your hand. Bridget, would you raise your hand so I feel someone raise their hand? I want to see where the resistance is living in you. Close your eyes, but first memorize this. And we're going to say out loud, and you can say it at your own house, I am a community leader. And as you say that out loud, I want you to scan your body. If you're not comfortable in your body because you've had some things in your body, look in your outer world and look at where, when you say out loud, I am a community leader, where there's hesitation, doubt, disbelief, or just a nagging pain over here in your side. All right, so let's all do it, and then let's see where that is living for you. I am a community leader. If you want to tell me in the chat, what happened for me was I got this stretch over here, like, oh my God, if I'm going to be a community leader, I'm going to bear the brunt of the whole world. And what we're going to do with that is we're going to, when we have that kind of disharmonious thing, we're pulling our lives. He corrected that. I think he meant to have an asterisk there. Are you pulling your life? Are you pulling instead of letting the wind take your sail? So we've got somebody's legs felt heavy. I got really flushed and saw myself as a supporter. And so those are some real things. So let's do something with that, okay? Oh, that's funny. Somebody laughed and felt amused that even saying that out loud was a funny idea. Well, let's find out. Let's take that, and I'm going to invite, and then we had somebody who felt free, but that they're waiting to be shown what she's going to be leading. Again, so what I'm going to say in that, because waiting to be shown instead of waiting to, to start to take action that you might have been shown. So waiting for what, the umbrella to pull you along. I still think there might be some resistance there, like that I've got to do this for myself. I've got to take the actions, and then the wind is going to lift me up. Just a thought. So what I want you to do is to take that feeling of laughing at yourself, those heavy legs, feeling really flushed and hot, and feeling like, okay, I'm waiting to be shown. I mean, because when you're waiting to be shown, what I get a right quick image of is sitting on the curb waiting for your destiny to find you. Now, it can do that, but we can still show up and do some things. Oh, somebody else saw themselves leading, but under somebody else's banner. Okay. You know what? I did that for many years when I brought people to the desert to speak. And finally, one guy looked at me and said, "Would you stop trying to ride on my coattails, Renee?" And it pissed me off so much that I started to set out to do my own work. And trust me, 2012, I was talking about the Awakening Companies, and I was talking about the archetypes. So I was onto something, but it took me 7 more years to get here, ready to teach stuff this year. So if you're waiting, as long as you're writing and doing something every day while you're waiting, that's great. But if you're just waiting and thinking, it's like the old story about the guy in the flood who's waiting for St. Peter to, or God to come down and get him. And I know you are, so I'm not saying that you're not doing things every day to push yourself forward. However, waiting could be an archetype. The guy's waiting on the top of the roof in the flood and waiting for God to come save him. Give me a sign, God. And, the fireman comes by on the boat, and the guy said, no, I'm waiting for God. And then the police come by in their boat, and the guy's, no, I'm waiting for God. And the guy finally dies. And he gets up there, and and St. Peter said, "Hey, what brings you here?" "Well, I was waiting for God." And St. Peter goes, "We sent the fire department, we sent the police department, you kept saying no." So, stop saying no to your opportunities, but let's take whatever it is, that feeling it is, and we're going to give it to value, and we're going to write it on the air. So if I'm feeling heavy in my legs, I'm going to write, "I feel heavy in my legs. I feel like I need to teach under somebody else's umbrella." And I'm going to blow Vayu, and Vayu's going to come down and collect all of those thoughts, put them in the wind sack, and take them away. Okay, are you ready? All right, start your writing. I don't see you writing. Is everyone writing? Here comes Vayu to grab up all of those thoughts you have about not being good enough. How dare you think you can teach? You need somebody over you. It's gonna come one day. I'm waiting for the right moment. All of those thoughts, we're gonna put them in the wind bag as Vayu comes by. Now Vayu's gonna carry them up beyond the furthest star, out to the outer galaxy. Tossing them out, sealing it in space and time and all eternity. And now what we're going to do is we're going to call upon Eurus, the east wind, because we're heading towards spring. And if our friend in Australia wants to call upon the west wind to bring in the physical strength to do this, that's fine. But the rest of you who are in the northern hemisphere, call in the east wind to give you one new idea about yourself as a community leader. One new idea. And Eurus is reminding me that when the northeaster wind comes up the coast, sometimes it has to level some things. So what might need to go in order for you to embrace this new idea? And as you come back to the room, hold that new idea and put it into your heart. Put it into a place of your heart for safekeeping. And the best way to put it into your heart is to go into a place of gratitude and think about something that you just love unconditionally, whether it's your pet, a sunshine day, or a walk at the beach. And as you go into that place of gratitude, I want you to take that thought and put that idea into your heart. Wow. And breathe out anything that isn't that love of that new thought for yourself. How did that feel? If anyone has an idea about or would like to just give a quick share about what that experience was like, you could unmute yourself and share.
This is Susan.
Hi, Susan.
Hi, and I felt really free. I was able to release grief. I traveled ahead in time to see my son graduating from Marine boot camp, and he looked so handsome. And my whole life just seems to be opening up.
Good. Now, you've been taking the Wind Mastery program for over a year. So what have you noticed in your life that's changed?
Well, I used to get really depressed, and I used to hold on to old thoughts that seemed to feed my idea of unworthiness. And yet, as I became to free myself from the unworthiness and uncover the emotions that had been trapped in me from childhood, and just dealing with these things and letting them go to the winds, gave more room for clarity and happiness and pursuit of, the healer's path, and just opening up in all areas.
That's great.
I earned the money to go to Omega last year, which I didn't know if I could do it, so I did it. So I'm looking forward to new adventures and new stages.
Great. That's awesome. Somebody else like to share about what their experience of writing in the wind and then giving it and getting a new idea from there? Bridget, I see you've unmuted yourself. You there? Oh, you didn't want to share?
There we go.
Oh.
Hi.
Hi.
So, yes, can you hear me?
I can.
There we go. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you.
Feel like a AT&T commercial. Okay, good. When Eurus came in, the message was very clear about start speaking now. And I tend to hold my voice back, which is, I'm aware now why I do that. And it's mostly from a childhood fear of creating difficulties and making things harder. So I had this belief that whenever I spoke about things that I'm really passionate about or are somewhat radical or controversial, that I'm going to make things harder for people. But it actually is harder on my soul to not do it.
And so that was great then. And you've also been taking the Wind Mastery program for a while too.
Yeah.
Has it
Yeah.
shifted you?
Oh my goodness, has it shifted me? I hated everything about this program when I first started. I had so much resistance. Um, the winds invited me. I did not seek the winds out. And I had a lot of resistance when I was traveling last year in the Dominican. The winds were punishing. I mean, they just would not leave me alone. And I was so irritated, and I heard very clearly, your teacher will appear. And 3 weeks later, I received an email from you saying that, hey, I'm going to start my spring wind mastery program, and I contacted you and asked to join. And the work was really difficult for me because I think that you have the hardest job. How do you make the wind tangible, and how do you bring the wind down to ground long enough so that people can work with it, right? Because it's always in motion, it's always changing, and it's a force. So yes, my life has changed dramatically in this last year from doing the work. I think you personally as a mentor has been, transformative, as well as the winds themselves have been really constant and consistent guides for me. And so there's still so much more to learn, but now I'm listening, and I love how you always say work with life on life's terms and learn to work with the resistance. And I think that's been my biggest takeaway, is that the resistance will always be there, but now I don't have to stop when it shows up. I can keep moving with it.
Absolutely. And now all of you, if you don't even go one step further, you have an exercise of writing this on the wind and going forward. We'll meet afterwards, and I would love to hear people's feedback. I just don't want to keep everyone like too long today, because I didn't say that I was keeping you all night. So I just want to tell you about the Community University. And as I said, I've been really trying to build this. I had a holistic network for 10 years, and I kept trying to build and build and build. And basically the assumption of this is that we're on a seasonal cycle. And so we're going to be, going through seasons together, because I suggest that people stay for a whole cycle and see if it doesn't change in your life. And what's going to make us different is that we're going to have ancient wisdom practices like we just had with the wind. I have all those masterminds. I have templates and worksheets, and like I said, I know all of these things, so I can help you do them too. And the other part is you're going to get to practice your teaching, and not under my wings, but you're going to be able to practice your own teaching by practicing it, by going online, getting people interested in our group to hear what you have to say, and inviting them to, hear. And we're going to network. And trust me, one of the things that was the best part of every mastermind I ever took is that the people I've met along the way are still my friends, and they still come up and do some of my programs. Some of the same people I was having in 2012 speaking are still as relevant today, and we're still supporting each other, which started from the next top spiritual author to then Allison Maslow, on and on and on. And everybody, I've collected the few great people along the way for, it helps. Mentoring. One of the things that I'm committed to is really guiding people, because what I'm going to say is I'm making this really cheap program of $44 a month. And if you can't triple that $44 a month, I don't belong teaching you. If the wind doesn't come in and just help your $44 a month turn into $125 a month, then we're really in trouble. We're going to have guest experts, and I'm going to show you who those are in just a minute, our first four. We're going to have Wind Spirit card book study, and that will be like every week and I'm going to start doing that in the Wind Clan, pulling our cards and talking about them. We're going to have ceremony, and we're going to have that umami alchemy that I'm talking about. So right off the bat, these were people who just stepped up and said, oh, absolutely, I'm in, this is great. My assistant wants to teach you how to delegate to elevate. Stephanie Gunning is a New York Times bestselling book author, and she's my author and my editor, and she's very, she's spendy. She's not and she's going to come in and teach you how to publish a book in 2019 that's going to elevate, that you can use for your business. You know, maybe it's not the next Moby Dick or the next Winds of Spirit, but it's a book that will get you out there. And I've seen people do it. Like one of my good friends who I've known for years and actually started out in one of my programs, she wrote a book last year and now she's got a television show. And, you know, her book isn't the Winds of Spirit. It's more about her story that her coaching clients can understand. And it took her, you know, maybe a half a year or not a whole year to write. One of my guides and mentors is Suzanne Fagel, and I can't say enough about her. She is one of those continual learners. She's 70 years old and still enrolled in a few programs, and not because she's trying to get anywhere. It's just she is a sponge for knowledge. She worked with Carolyn Mace for 10 years. She worked with Joan Borozhenko. I mean, she is a leading expert, and she's going to come on. She's going to be our first guest, and she's going to teach you how to plan a 1-hour course. And she teaches me how to plan all my 1-hour courses, because when I was getting wind downloads, I needed to call her and say, hey, they just told me I got to change my whole program up today. And she'd be like, okay, well, just, you know, she simplifies it. So she's going to teach you how to do that. And Sandra Ingerman said she can't wait to come on and teach everyone how to create a ceremony for your community, because she loves to teach that. And I mean, I have other people who are going to talk about, it's not about what you're teaching, but about how you present somebody. I mean, just on and on coming out. Lots of people are going to come out of the woodwork, because this is how we're going to build the library. And if you have topics you teach and you create something that like, wow, we got a lot of people, then that's going to go in the library as well. How does that sound? I think it sounds pretty awesome. So this is because I'm like going to teach you how to market. I'm going to use a few of these little marketing tools. I'm making a bonus offer by Saturday. I've already got one person signed up for the full coaching program, which is great. And that person is going to get monthly one-on-one coaching with me, and also some other extra bonuses. But if you think that this is a program that you want to get involved in, and it's $125 for you have to commit $44 for 3 months, or you can just pay $125 for 3 months, because I want to keep it seasonally. Although some people are talking about joining next month, and it's a subscription thing, so I'm not going to turn people away, and I'm still going to do my twice a year spring wind mastery and fall wind mastery programs, which are going to be separate, and those are deep dives. And I want to do a in-person gathering, so this people can join monthly, because you're going to, you know, keep building. But if you join by Saturday, I'm going to make a bonus offer where I'm going to take 6 people an intake strategy call with me. And the reason I want to do it with 6 people is, well, first of all, it's a $44 thing, and I charge like $300 an hour for my time, but you're going to get feedback from other people in the group about your strategy, what you want to achieve. And so I'm going to say that if you do this and you stay with us for a while, you're going to achieve whatever we come up with on that strategy call together. You're going to also get the Building Authentic Relationship programs, and you're going to have a lifetime membership to the Wind Mastery group. You're going to feel left out if you're not, you know, taking advantage of all the stuff in the library, but that's okay. And there's going to be stuff in the course library. This is the new look of the course library that's going to be free. And then there's going to be some stuff that's paid for the paid group only. And a lot, that's the teachings that we're going to be doing monthly, and the experts. All right. So what's keeping you from flying this year? I'm going to invite you to come all learn to fly with me. And trust me, I'm going to give 110% of myself to help you become successful. I'm going to stop the recording. If anyone has any questions, you can ask questions here, and I'll unmute yourself.